story, and so I have to change the name because of HIPAA violation. So freshman year, there was a girl named Abby who had a problem with her and she needed to take medication for it. Her mom gave her the medication and they went off to bed. You can call it mother's intuition or whatever, but her mom couldn't sleep that night, and whenever she got up, her mom went into her room and found Abby laying on her bed, blue as the colors from Franklin County. Abby's mom frantically called 911, and first responders got there and they called Signal 10, which means to get there faster than fast. Like, this is a really bad situation, you know, the girl's not breathing. So Franklin County didn't have the drugs to give Abby to make her feel better or whatever, so they took her to a location where we could meet up with paramedics from a neighboring county to give you the drugs, and they gave her a drug called Narcan. Instantly she snapped in and she started breathing again and she got color back. When they went to the hospital, they found out that Abby's mom accidentally gave her 5 milliliters of medication instead of 0.5, because on the prescription it didn't show the point as well, and the doctor said it was more their fault than the mom's fault. Narcan saved this 15-year-old girl's life. Narcan is also known as naloxone, which is a nasal spray or used as an IV to help reverse the effects of an overdose. The opinions on who has the right to administer varies from person to person. Some issues I'm going to be talking about today is how is it affecting our community/society, how often is it used and what counties use it, and the benefits versus the negatives of having it easily accessible. It's affecting our community by giving patients who overdose on drugs access to keep using drugs at a higher dosage for a better high. Obama proposed $1.1 billion in new funding to help cut down on addiction to drugs, and Dearborn County, Indiana set aside $1 million to supply Narcan on EMSs. Some say that Narcan is saving lives by giving drug addicts a better chance of survival, and that the drug is helping people realize the effects that, like heroin and everything, can do to you. The counties that supply it are Dearborn County, and FC has had training on like Narcan to supply it into our ambulances. And counties in Ohio, they sell it in their CVS's for $40 to $50. There are also 28 states that supply it, and calls to 911 are increasingly common in Revere, Massachusetts, because there is 16 overdoses in a single 6-day stretch in February. Now, counties that don't supply it say that there could be an increase or a decrease in overdoses, and Revere, Massachusetts is not alone. Many states and counties spike in overdoses, and Michael Riverno, Revere's deputy fire chief, states that it's incredible. It's like magic. There's somebody who's on the ground, literally dead. They have no pulse, sometimes blue or black, and you administer this stuff, and sometimes in a minute, 2 or 3, they're actually up and talking to you. The benefits of having it easily accessible is that drug users can live throughout their overdose and like see what the effects of it is, because the Narcan is basically a pause button for it. It can save accidental overdoses, like with the elderly taking more medication than what they need, the young kids getting into medication that they shouldn't be, and the story about the 15-year-old girl that happened. Boston's newly elected mayor says that he can get Narcan to anyone who wants it, and Mayor Marty Walsh directed city workers to offer Narcan to police, fire, and anyone who is interested. Revere Fire Captain Jay Vicario says it is their job to do whatever it takes to save someone's life. Someone loves that person who overdosed. It is valuable for that person. We're bringing a son back to a mother. The negative sides to it is that users will have more Narcan at their house for a better high each time. So if they take the heroin and they don't want to die, they can just have somebody shoot up the Narcan, pause their overdose, and then they can take more. People are worried about taking drugs because of overdoses. It'll be a safety net, and you could get addicted to all these drugs. And if you don't get it in time, people will die from it, like your overdose. Bertha Madras, Deputy Director of the National Drug Control Policy, states that sometimes having an overdose, being in the ER, having contact with a healthcare professional is enough to make a person snap into the reality of the situation and snap into someone giving them services. Bertha also states that if you take away the possibility of a fatal overdose, more people will use the drugs. Narcan is one tool to improve odds of survival, but long-term solutions to addiction are needed. Most patients after a Narcan revival don't get more treatment, whether it is going to a hospital or going to a rehab, because on the EMS you can refuse treatment. Opinions on who has the right to administer Narcan varies from person to person. So now you have to decide who you think should have the right to administer it. Should just EMTs and law enforcement and police departments be able to use it? Should anyone have availability to it, or should you only be able to have it if you live long enough to get to a hospital?
How long can you be like out from the jail before they give you the Narcan? Like how long can you last between those times?
Probably you're talking about whenever they
Like
overdose and they're not breathing.
Yeah, from the time they overdose to when they get the drug.
Probably not that long. I mean, so however long you can hold on or whatever, without dying. Just
Like Narcan, when they give it to them, when they get to the hospital, are they still treated for overdose, or is it like stopping it completely?
no, they still have to be treated for it and get through all that medication and stuff.
How long does a Narcan last?
I'm pretty sure it's 30 minutes or an hour in between there.
Do you still have to be if the patient overdoses, do they still have to be somewhat living, this, their heart still beating, or could they be dead and it still revive them?
We actually been on an overdose run one time that this girl, she was older, she overdosed on heroin and they were giving her CPR and they gave her the Narcan and she came back to life.
How does Narcan work? What's it do?
It stops the effects of an opiate overdose.
How does that?
I assume it's through the chemicals reverse it somehow. I didn't really look up how much.
Does Narcan also work for prescription drugs? If someone takes an overdose of pills, or is it only for illegal drugs
Yeah,
meth?
that's what happened to that 15-year-old girl. Her mom accidentally, like I said, gave her the more than what she needed, and she overdosed on it.
Is that what its original purpose was for? Was for prescription drug overdose?
I don't know what the original purpose was for, but it could have been both, just to help overdoses and all.
All right, jump